And welcome back to Legacy of Leaders. I'm your host, Captain Rick Hoffman. We have today two wonderful leaders from the North Florida Land Trust, Louy and Rianna LaChapelle. Welcome, ladies. I have had so much fun working with you guys over the past few years as a member of the board of North Florida Land Trust, and I'm very excited to have an opportunity to share what you guys are doing with a larger audience. So, Lee,
yes,
you and I have known each other a while. You were at the University of North Florida.
we have. I think we go back to maybe 2012, 2013.
Yeah, at least 14, 15
Yeah.
years. But you've been with North Florida Land Trust for a couple of years, and you're in charge of making sure that everything's funded so that everyone else can do their work. So how did you get into the fundraising business? And tell me a little bit about how North Florida Land Trust works.
I privately fund, so from family foundations, individuals, corporate foundations as well. I got into the work by starting at UNF. I fundraised for them for about 9 years in different fields, and then made the switch over to North Florida Land Trust. It'll be 5 years in August, which time has flown by. We started about the same time frame.
I think that's when I joined the board, right about that time.
It is,
Yeah.
it is. But I got into it because we are making an impact in Jacksonville. I'm a Jacksonville native, and I want to make sure we preserve as much land as possible for my kids, my child or child's, and their future.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm making a difference by working for North Florida Land Trust and contributing to helping raise funds.
And as I recall, the whole point of the North Florida Land Trust is to preserve that which we must destroy to get all the people who want to move to Florida, to share what we have. And
Right.
we got to destroy it to accommodate it. So fallow agricultural land and reconstituted abandoned lands and just buying land that has not yet been developed. Now, once we get this property, the most important part now is taking care of it, the conservancy piece. Rianna, talk a little bit about your role.
So I have been with North Florida Land Trust since January of 21. So we're moving in on 6 years now, and it has been an incredible journey. North Florida Land Trust was founded in 1999 and had been really focused on the acquisition of and conservation of lands during that initial 20 years. And in the last 5 to 6, we've really focused in on the preservation and the restoration of a lot of the properties that we do hold in fee. We have focused on prescribed fire. Each of our preserves have unit management plans, which basically states where they start, where we would like for them to end up, and the objectives on how we're going to get there. It's a roadmap for each property. Sometimes those include doing mechanical treatment to remove exotic and invasive species. Sometimes it's prescribed fire. Sometimes it is coming in, and after we acquire it, we're having to remove some leftovers from some of those previous landowners. So it's to make it much better. We want to leave every property that we acquire in a better state of health, and I have a fantastic team to help me do that.
Yeah, we talked earlier about so much of wild Florida was inspired by the actual natural activity of fires. And when we make it agriculture or we preserve it in some way, we often prevent that natural progress from happening. And you told me a short story earlier about how important it is that we've done some prescribed fires to prevent the outbreak of a fire that's no longer controllable. Tell the viewers that story.
Yeah, so this week has been pretty monumental in the world of our stewardship department. On Sunday night, I received a phone call from the Florida Forest Service notifying us that we had a wildfire due to a lightning strike on our Putnam Lakes Preserve. And they said it seems to be fairly small, it seems to be contained, and we attributed that, we were down there working on it yesterday, that thanks to the fact that we have been able to have a few years of prescribed fire history there wasn't a lot of fuel built up. So the fire really didn't have any new things to chew on, and we had partnered with NRCS, which is part of USDA, and received some funding to allow us to go in and create some fire breaks. So we had stop gaps in between where the fire was at and open landscape, which is important because in that area there is some urban interface. So we were able to keep some homeowners comforted to know that the fire wasn't going anywhere.
I mean, everything from restoring fallow agricultural land, and we planted how many longleaf spruce? 3,000.
In the last couple of years, we have, well, if you look at what we've done in the last 5 years, we've planted over 90,000 longleaf trees over a couple of different preserves.
And why longleaf? What's the difference? What are you taking out of there? What's the non-native stuff?
We're removing a lot of sand pine, which is native, but it's a much more competitive species to the longleaf. Longleaf is what is one of the key species for sandhill environment, which is what the southeastern United States, from Virginia to Texas, were pre-Civil War era. So we are bringing back those habitats, which assist in the habitat for gopher tortoises, red-cockaded woodpeckers, eastern indigo snakes, all of which are imperiled species. So we're trying to put the food and the shelter back where the animals need to live.
Yeah. How much property does North Florida Land Trust have in stewardship now?
I want to say we're pushing 12,000 acres that we maintain over 29 different preserves across Northeast Florida.
And there's a cost to that, and that's the role that you play. And you've had some pretty good fundraisers recently that were a lot of fun. The Salty Soiree was a wonderful, wonderful event. And of course, membership is key. And part of the importance of membership is to get people engaged, and not just from a fundraising perspective, but also from a community awareness perspective. What are some of the things that a member might expect if they join North Florida Land Trust?
Well, right now we have monthly engagements that you can go outdoors with Rianna and her team, either paddleboarding, kayaking on our
You did a boat ride a couple
pontoon
weeks
boat,
ago.
yes.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
And experience that. We also do a Working Lunch Wednesday, where we do an educational series for an hour on Wednesday once a month.
Virtually, yeah.
Which we've done that for 2 years now. But we really started membership as an opportunity to educate and provide outreach and engagement to individuals who wanted to learn more about the organization. In addition to, we were using it as a way to increase our unrestricted support for the organization.
Yeah.
So it's twofold. We have about close to 900 members currently. We will be very excited when we hit the 1,000 mark. But it's a way to just get into the organization, learn more about us, and hopefully, stay and become actively involved with us.
Yeah. Well, as you may recall, when I first got involved with the North Florida Land Trust, it was because of the salt marsh. Salt marsh is very near and dear to my heart. So we have many, many acres. We've, particularly here at the beach, along the Intercoastal Waterway, the Bull property up in Atlantic Beach, the formerly the small islands in Jacksonville Beach area. Talk about the importance of the wetlands to the environment.
Yeah, so our salt marsh, we have 6 areas of priority, and the Salt Marsh Initiative is one of those PPAs. There's so much happening in salt marsh. A large percentage of any type of commercial I just messed up.
Fishing. It's okay. Keep going.
Okay. A large percentage of commercial fishing occurs because of salt marsh.
Yeah.
The life cycle of these species, whether it's as
if you like Mayport shrimp, you like the salt marsh.
You love the salt marsh.
Yeah.
It's also important for climate resiliency. Salt marsh creates a huge buffer whenever we're looking at weather and environmental impacts, such as hurricanes and sea level rise. It creates that buffer that will assist some of those homes in critical areas.
Yeah.
So salt marsh.
Yeah, it's the nursery for the oceans. It really is.
Salt marsh is the nursery
and
for the
so,
oceans.
and more importantly, and I don't think people fully appreciate this, but as you get a storm surge coming up the St. Johns River, that water goes out and is absorbed in the salt marsh, like a big beanbag chair that it takes the punch and holds that water from going up the river. Because here in Jacksonville, in particular, you got water coming down to St. Johns, meeting water going up to St. Johns, and that's how we get flooding downtown, miles from the ocean. So salt marsh is critical. And so there's not much more you can do except to preserve that and keep it from being developed.
And aside from our salt marsh habitat, we've also been working the last couple of years, and we actually just received funding through the state budget to continue our submerged aquatic vegetation restoration projects in the St. Johns.
Okay.
So
We're talking manatee food here?
we are talking manatee food.
Hey.
We're talking manatee food.
So we got, let me just check it out. We got to go for tours. We got a replicated respect. No, we got the manatees. We're about to go bingo here.
We are, but the eelgrass does so much more than just be a food source. It's also a purifier. It's a filter for all of the nutrients that come downstream from the St. John's.
Yeah, and well, of course, if you start talking about Central and Southeast Florida, it's a disaster because of all the runoff from the sugar production and horrific algae blooms, which of course we haven't spoken about. Algae blooms haven't been in the press much at all lately, but a little joke about the reflecting pool. But she's holding it in. But the algae blooms kill the eelgrass, which kill the manatee. So so that's wonderful. The more we can sustain that, the better it is. So when are we going to go planting? I'll go plant with you.
So we did our first planting this time last year. So anywhere from May to July, and then this time next year, we're really excited because we've gotten permitted to collect not just native eelgrass, but actually local specific. So we are going to be able to collect some native samples from the St. John's and the Bayard Point area, and then grow them out, and then we'll be able to bring those right back and put them in. So a lot of people are always concerned about where did it come from. You're putting it in the river. We can say that we're putting it back, but just in more abundance.
Yeah. Well. Lee, Rianna, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun. I hope that our audience has learned a little bit about the importance of conservancy and the role of fire and the salt marsh to our environment. And as we watch the near coastal region over the coming years, if the scientists are right, the things we're doing here become even more important. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And that's Legacy Leaders with Lee, Louy, and Rianna LaChapelle and North Florida Land Trust. Thank you so much.